Hey Stepsters, I'm Lasya.
And I'm Kopika, and we're your trainers for Future Steps.
Today we're going to be learning about measurements.
Yeah, isn't that exciting?
How you can measure anything you want. We have four different types of measurements. We have temperature, capacity, weight, and length.
Yep.
And now we're going to start with lengths. Okay, these are the basic, right? Whenever you want to measure how long something is, that's how you do it. So basically, the definition of the length is how long something is from the start to the end point. An example in real life is like a ruler, right? If you just pick up a ruler, you're gonna see different numbers in it. Have you ever wondered like what it is, right? Now you're gonna learn about it. So let's just take centimeters for as an example, right? As a unit for this case, we have 1 centimeter, 2 centimeter, and 3 centimeters. What does this mean? It's basically how we measure like people in the whole entire world. We like agreed on measuring that this length is going to be 1 centimeter in your ruler. Okay, so this is 1 centimeter. This is another centimeter. And as we go on, there are like small little lines on like in the middle of the centimeters, right? Those are called millimeters. And then one dash, one little like tiny dash there is called 1 millimeter. Okay? And as we go on, it just changes. So that's 2 millimeters, that's 3 millimeters, that's 4 millimeters, and we have 5 millimeters. That'd be 1.5 centimeters. Because millimeters is, let me see, here we have 1 millimeter. 1 millimeter is equal to 0.1 centimeter. So that's going to be 1 centimeter and then 0.5 centimeters. So it's going to be 1.5 centimeters in total. Okay, and that's how you go on. So that'd be 1.5, 1.6, 1.7, 1.8, 1.9, and then 2 centimeters, and so on until 3 centimeters, right? Now we're going to talk about units and how they convert into others. These are all the things, like everything here, we just agreed, we people like just agreed before, way before, that these are the units we are going to measure, and these are the units we all are going to agree upon to measure something. While US does it different, these are metric units. That's basically what many international countries follow, while US has something different. So let's look at units first. 1 feet, they have 1 feet, which is equal to 12 inches, 12 inches, sorry about that. 1 yard, which is 3 feet. 1 mile, which is 5,280 feet. 1 mile is also equal to 1,760 yards. These are things you just need to memorize. It's just basically, it's just memorizing them to knowing them. There's no way like you can kind of like, like eyeball it. You can eyeball it. You can talk about, oh, 1 feet is like that long kind of thing, right? That's how you talk about it. And now let's talk about metric units, right? 1 kilometer is 1,000 meters. Okay, or the other way too, 1 meter equals 0.001 kilometer. 1 meter equals 100 centimeters, or 1 centimeter is equal to 0.01 meters. 1 meter equals 1,000 millimeters, or 1 millimeter is equal to 0.001 meter. 1 centimeter equals 10 millimeters. 1 millimeter equals 0.1 centimeter, like we talked before. 1 feet is equal to 0.3048, or 1 meter equals 3.28084 feet. Or you can just remember it as 3.28 feet. 1 inch equals 2.54 centimeters, or it's called 1 centimeter equals 0.393701 inches. So all of this, just write them on a paper and maybe stick them to your like mirror, and then every single morning just go through them, and the better you like revise them every single day, the better you will get to them. So it might look like a lot of memorization now, but later on you will thank us for memorizing all of these. Now let's look at weights. So weights, these are how much of a matter something contains. Like this water bottle, for example, this contains like 1.1 liters. So it has a matter of 1.1 liters. Let's look at the units, right? For metric units, that means many international countries follow this. It's 1 gram equals 1,000 liters. 1 kg equals 1,000 grams. This is so much easier than lead, right? Definitely. But it will get easier once you memorize them. And these are US units, so 16 ounces is equal to 1 pound, and 2,000 pounds equals 1 ton. That's all you gotta memorize for weight, and Kritika here is gonna explain capacity and temperature for y'all.
Yep. So now I'm here for capacity and temperature. Let's see if we can see the bit clearly. Now, capacity is not weight. Weight and capacity are two different things, okay? Capacity is like volume of a thing. So I have a 1 liter water bottle here. I'm just gonna show you the brand, but I have a 1 liter water bottle. That means its volume is 1 liter. So that's the capacity, right? And let's look at the different conversion units, okay? So we have a cup, and then we have a pint, and then a quart, and then we have a gallon, right? These are the units that mostly US uses. US loves to use different units. Okay, so let's look at the conversions now. 1 cup is 8 ounces. 1 pint is 2 cups. 1 quart is 2 pints, and 1 gallon is 4 quarts. And I don't know why I wrote that twice, but just so you know, you can remember it, even if you want to remember it twice. And then, for example, an example of a gallon would be if you live in the US, right? You could look at the gallon of milk. So you always get milk from the farmer's market or from a place like Walmart or something like that. If you live in the US, then you're probably used to calling, oh, that's a gallon of milk, right? So that's an example of a gallon. So now let's look at the rest of the world, right? So for the rest of the world, we use liters and kiloliters. So 1 liter is 1,000 milliliters, and you could do it the other way too. You could say 1 ml is 0.001 liter, and then 1 liter is 100 centiliters, and 1 liter is 10 deciliters. And then we also have 1 kiloliter, which is 1,000 liters. Now, if you look at it, pretty simple, straightforward, right? That's what it is for now. And now let's look at temperature. Temperature is fun and pretty simple. So you look at this and you go, oh, that looks like a ruler. Well, guess what? It's a ruler, but for temperature. And we call this a temperature scale. Okay? So when I talk about temperature, temperature has two different scales, which I've drawn on one for now. This side is the Celsius scale, and this side is the Fahrenheit scale. Okay, let me just make it a bit more clear for you guys. Okay, now US uses Fahrenheit. As to what I know, India uses Celsius, and a lot of other places also use Celsius and Fahrenheit, depending on where you live. You're probably going to use a different scale. So I'm just going to teach you both of them. And generally, you need to know both of them to be able to do conversions later on. So do pay attention to both of them, even if you don't usually use the other one. So let's start off with Celsius scale. Now, Celsius scale has a cooling point at 0. So let me call that your cooling point. And then it has a boiling point at 100. So this is your boiling point, right? And then, the other units are just there. And your Celsius scale is divided into 100 parts because, the cooling point is at 0 and the boiling point is at 100. So pretty simple, right? Celsius is a really simple unit. And on the other hand, we have Fahrenheit. Sadly. Nope, still take me on that. Well, Fahrenheit scale, its boiling point is 180. And you're like, oh, well, that's simple. That might just have 180 parts, right? Well, it's not that simple because its cooling point is at a 32. So it has about, I guess, over 140 parts instead of 180 because its starting point is at a 32. If you think about it that way. So cooling point of Fahrenheit is 32 and boiling point is 180. Okay? And as you look at it, if you're measuring temperature, like if you have a fever, you're probably gonna look at it and go, okay, well, this is how a thermometer looks. Well, nowadays we use a lot of digital thermometers, so you don't have to look at certain scales. But while we're teaching it, we like to teach the scale by itself because even though you wouldn't see it while you're trying to, look if you have a fever or not, you're still going to be using this for conversions and your questions in class. So do remember how the scale looks and where it starts and where it ends and what the boiling and cooling point is. And then we're going to go into conversions now. So I showed you the entire scale and you're like, okay, it's going well, it's going fine. But now we look at the conversions and you go, what? Yeah. Sadly, conversion looks like this. And I'm not going to show you how to come up with each one of these because you don't need to know that for now. Listen, until you're thinking of taking physics when you grow older, you're going to need to know them. And they will teach you how to do it in physics. Now, we did Celsius and Fahrenheit, and we know, okay, well, Celsius is 5 by 9 times Fahrenheit minus 32, right? And Fahrenheit is 9 by 5 degrees Celsius plus 32. And no, you can remember this by thinking of the reciprocal of the fraction. And the reason why that is because I don't want to explain it too much in detail because you don't need to know this right now. But this is basically a conversion factor that goes for both degree Celsius and degree Fahrenheit. And later on you'll learn about it, so I won't tell you much about it. Now you probably looked at the K and you're like, okay, what is K? Well, we don't use K that often, but K stands for Kelvin. And you probably looked at it and you were like, well, I've heard of Fahrenheit and I've heard of Celsius, but I've never heard of Kelvin. What in the world is Kelvin? So now you know US and India have two different temperatures, right? Temperature scale. And it's the same for US and some other countries and a lot of other countries actually. So what happened was they came up with a unit that they were like, okay, so I can only convert something to this unit that every place would use. So they started bringing in something called Kelvin. And this is pretty recent kind of thing because you probably haven't heard of it yet because, well, we're just using it now. And Kelvin is basically degrees Celsius plus 273. So if I tell you to convert degrees Celsius into Kelvin, and I give you, oh, convert 2 degrees Celsius to Kelvin, you're just gonna do 2 plus 273 and you'd get 275 for the Kelvin, right? And that's pretty simple. So that's why Kelvin came into place. Now you know that temperature has 3 units, not just two, but the two main ones are the ones you need to know: Fahrenheit and Celsius. And now you know that Kelvin is there too, and you will be using Kelvin in the future, if not right now, because Kelvin is a unit you will be needing, and that's why we're teaching it to you, even if you don't need it right now. So now you know about length, weight, capacity, and temperature. So good job in learning all of this. You know everything about measurements. And that is cool because if you did watch our sheets video and talk about this, now you can actually find the length of this thing, right? And now you can actually cook things. You know why? Because you can understand cooking measurements. And that's what capacity helps you with. And if you ever feel sick, you know how to read a scale. So now you can see whether you have a fever or not. Now you can cook. And now you can actually go to the gym and see whether you're making progress or not because you know how weight works. Track player and you love running. You know length now. and you know yours. And you're gonna know how much you can run.
It's very useful to know your measurements. It's like a daily life thing.
Yep. Now we will be posting, we will have a picture of this come up, and we will post it into our website and our socials if needed. And so you don't have to, look at this and go, oh, I'm trying to take a picture. Can you guys move out of the way? Don't worry, we will send you a picture of it, and you can take a screenshot of that if you need it.
Yeah.
See you in our next video, Stubsters. That's all we have for you today.
Goodbye.
Bye.